Hey, what's up, stickers? Wanugee is Golden Man of Fortune, that sidekick. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be not doing a K-pop group, we're going to be doing a J-pop group. Or maybe they're part of a K-pop group. They were trained by a Korean agency, but we're going to do some Japanese girls, and it's called NiziU. So you guys ready? Here we go.
I'm your K-rap psychic. Try me twice, you'll like it. My name is Wanugee. OGs call me Wanugee. I'm a wise fortune teller and a really mellow fella. Ask me about your favorite idol. See their future, see what's vital.
Irashaimase minasan. Assalamualaikum. Namaste. Mabuhay. Salamat pagi. Bom dia. Buenos dias. Buenas noches. Hey, welcome everybody. We're going to be doing a group called NiziU. And this group is a girl group, 9-member girl group. They had an elimination show that was about a year ago. And they went to, in Japan, JYP, in association with Sony Entertainment, Sony Music, combined to create this new Japanese girl group in Japan. And what I wanted to do today was kind of do a little reading for the group. Try to do a reading for the group. I don't normally like to do that because, you know, they're all individuals. I want to use a new technique, a new method I'm developing here. And it's with Hana Fuda cards. So I have some right here. You know, this is a 48 deck, 48 card Hana Fuda deck. It's an ancient game. I think the roots of it started about 500 years ago, maybe when the Portuguese were in Japan and warlord period. And it kind of went through into the Tokugawa period of Japan, which is, you know, the long peaceful period. And it went through different iterations, different changes, because they outlawed it and they brought it back and changed it, they outlawed it and brought it back. But it's called Hana Fuda. Hana Fuda is, means flower cards. Here they are, they're small. There's only 48 of them. There's some other versions of this game. And then of course there's a Korean version, which is called Hwatu. And from that, there's a derivative of that called, you know, Go Stop. So there's a lot of different iterations of this this game. In its present form, you know, there was a gentleman called Mr. Yamauchi, and he founded Nintendo back in the 1800s. He founded Nintendo with the idea of making handmade Hana Fuda cards. That's how Nintendo got started. So yes, the Nintendo guy with all the video games, I mean, that's the Nintendo brand. And in fact, one of their games, I think for the Nintendo Switch, has a version of the game for Hana Fuda. So it's still there. You know, now Nintendo's doing a lot of the things and it's grown into a big company. They even have, I think, they may have a deck of Hana Fuda with Mario Brothers theme to it. So Nintendo is actually, you know, kind of the company that made Hana Fuda popular in its more present form in Japan and maybe around the world. But what I want to try to do, and I'm still working on it, I haven't figured it all out, is I want to use it as an oracle to kind of predict the future for starting off with NiziU. Might as well start with NiziU because it's kind of a Japanese game, kind of a Japanese group. So I'm going to kind of try a different experiment and see how it works this way. Maybe I'll keep changing it as I, you know, kind of play around with it. Kind of do it like the game. It's 48 cards total. They're in 12 suits, which represent the months of the year, and there's 4 cards in each suit. We're going to take 6 cards and kind of lay them out here, and then we're going to take 6 more cards and we're going to try to match them up or see how they play out, and then from that we're going to create a reading out of it. So you ready? Yeah, it's really kind of novel concept here, but if you're ready, then ganbatte ikimashou, or ishoni, let's do it together and try to figure out the future of NiziU using Hana Fuda cards, Hwatu cards. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I shuffled this deck a little bit, and we shuffled them up a little bit. So then let's just take the first 6 and lay them out here. So this has to do with the pampas grass, and here's the sakura. This is cherry blossom, and this here is this hog that has to do with this is the bush clover hog that kind of represents July. And then let's pick another one. Here's a bush clover again. So when we get the same suit, we're going to put them together. So we get to pick another one. This is the peony, beautiful flower, originally from China. And here is, this is more powerful card. Represents the pine and the crane. So there's some symbology around that. And then this is looks like starfish, but it's called the maple leaves. So these are all different suits or different times of the year. So those are kind of like what we play out. You know, when you play the game of Hana Fuda, that's just for what all players can look at and pick and match. You know, you kind of try to make little tricks. You know, get the group of 4 together and you win points and that type of thing in the game Hana Fuda or Hwatu. But here we're kind of making an oracle. So now we get to pick 6 more cards and see if we can match these cards. This is kind of how I'm going to devise this system. And I haven't have it all figured out. You know, maybe it's going to work this way. Maybe I'm going to make some adjustments and changes to it. But I'm going to try this first. Kind of mimics the game played and see what happens. So, well, no, this is new. This is the chrysanthemum, and that's a little bit later in the year. And then here is the Japanese, here's the Japanese iris, so that doesn't match. And here's the Polonia. This is the last, represents the last suit of the year. So not a lot of matches here. And then we got 3 more cards. Let's see what we can do here. Aha! So, you throw this down here and that matches. This is the pampas grass, or Suzuki grass it's called. And then, oh, this is a powerful card. Normally in the game playing, this is called the willow, or the ame, rain. And there's a little kind of a poetic legend about this man in the rain. And then, oh, okay. Then we got this chrysanthemum here with the sake cup. So I'm going to rearrange these based on the year, time of year that they're kind of in sequence, and then we'll kind of rearrange it and maybe kind of make a reading out of that. Okay. Okay. So with you, or if you're any with you fans out there for NiziU, or just people who are curious, so I rearranged these cards, the Hana Fuda cards, into the sequence of where they are, because they all kind of represent a month. You know, and they kind of go in a sequence, and then there's 4 cards for every month, so there's 48 cards. And so I rearrange them in the sequence that they should be in. So the first card here is the crane, the pine and the crane in the sun. This is a very auspicious card. I mean, it's a more powerful card, and when you play the game, it's worth more points. So it has a more substantial feeling to it. And this, the crane and the pine both represent eternal youth. Long life or long-lasting good things. So it's a very good card, and it's, you know, in Japanese custom, this is the appropriate card to be the beginning of the year, which we're at right now. So it's a January card. So this represents that for NiziU, that they're going to have this eternal youth. They're going to be popular. They're going to be around for quite a while. They're going to have some success, and they're just kind of getting started here on that success. Even though they have two hits already. I think, you know, the first video's got over 200 million views, and I think the next one has got maybe 50, 60 million so far. I mean, it just came out in December. So this is a good sign. And then the next card here is the sakura, the cherry blossom. This is kind of a lower denomination card in that suit of the 4. And this particular one, the sakura, the way I've kind of created this interpretation, represents that, you know, there's something new that's happened, and it's starting to slow down in its momentum. So I think that has to do with right now with NiziU coming out in June with their Make You Happy, which is a big hit, big smash. And then they came out with their album in December 2nd, and the second single was called Step and a Step, which is a nice catchy tune, and it's about, kind of symbolizes what they're going through with Miihi and her health. And so this represents that, things are kind of new and are out there, but they're going to start to slow down because it's already been out there for over a month. So things are starting to, the newness of everything is starting to wane a bit, but it's still good because this sakura represents the spring and opening up new possibilities. And then the next one here, this is called the Japanese iris, and this is kind of a lower denomination one. Usually the one there's more animals and things in the photo, in the picture, that means it's a higher ranked card. So this one is one of the basic ones, and this one here represents taking more action and starting to move forward. This card represents May. It's a May card, so the 5th month in the calendar year. It says that there's going to start to be more action going on, and not complacency, and there's going to be more activity in May, and not just dreams or talk, but doing some action. This is around May. It just seems to appear, and it also represents kind of a purity, that's still kind of trying to keep that pure image of this new young girl group in their teens. So maybe there's going to be some more things that have that image, maybe some commercials. They've already done a couple commercials already, so they already have some sponsors, but there may be some more that they're going to be doing probably around May. So we'll see. And then if we go over here to this one here, this one is called the peony. Beautiful, elegant flower from China, I think, but it's popular in Japan as well. And so the peony, this is again a very simple peony, represents maybe less value. And this peony here, this one here, because it has a main bloom flower and then a bud, it represents that part of things are fully blossomed, fully developed, but maybe part of it is still not. So I don't know if this has to do with the group, or maybe what they're trying to plan and create, or maybe it has something still to do with Miihi. I mean, that's going to be a long time since, I think she's starting to recuperate, but maybe this is kind of saying that maybe she's not quite fully back yet in strength. But it kind of implies that maybe there's going to be something full, but something that's quite not quite budded and opened up yet, as the image kind of shows here. And so then next we get to these two cards, and these are both called the bush clover. It's a type of clover popular in Japan, I guess. There's a simple bush clover here, and then there's one here with the this kind of wild boar kind of running around out there. The way I kind of created some meaning for these bush clovers is this one here is the wild boar. So the wild boar, represents a lot of things. This is kind of a July flower. This is the July time frame. So this represents, maybe at the beginning of a change in the seasons, and it says so there may be a little bit of kind of melancholy energy there, but also it represents maybe doing something impulsive, having some courage to do things, kind of push through, kind of a ganbatte, or kind of fighting in Korean. And this one here, so this represents kind of intuitively kind of knowing the right thing to do, to take action, and maybe not having all the details and facts. So somehow it seems like there's a little more impulsiveness here, maybe some courage to make things happen, despite not all the information available for the group. So again, I'm not sure if that's what they're trying to do. Maybe it's just the condition of the the environment in the world still. So maybe they're kind of trying to figure out what to do as far as coming out with something, and maybe doing a tour package. And then over here, two cards here. There's one that's just very plain. This is called pampas grass. If you've ever seen these big bushes with these tall, feathery kind of leaves, sticks, kind of golden, and they kind of bend with the wind very nicely. That's what this represents, a field of those kinds of grasses. There's some parts in Japan that are very famous for viewing these kind of grasses. It's called maybe Suzuki grass too, but in Western terms it's called pampas grass. And this one here is just very simple. But what it represents is getting down to the basics, the essentials. Kind of stripped bare, so it's kind of like really getting down to what's most important and making the priorities of what's most important and making the most of the resources that that are available at this time. And then this other one here with the 3 geese, I believe, flying. This represents like geese flying. They go flying south, they're flying north. So this represents maybe a long journey, maybe some transition in plans. And so I don't know if they're maybe starting to feel comfortable about touring or maybe doing some dates where there may be some travel going on. But what this implies is there's going to be some change, like the geese flying south or flying north. This is a fall flower, it's a fall suit as well. It's around August. Anyway, it's the geese is a migratory bird and kind of shows up in Japan around August or so, around fall. And so it represents that there may be some travels and some long-term plans may be associated with these plans, maybe starting here, then going out to when they come back again. So something like that may be in the works around August, September, or so. And then we go over here. These 2 cards here. These represent the chrysanthemum. So let's look at the simple one first. So this one here represents some budding success. That maybe there's a partnership or collaboration or relationship that may be starting to bloom and open up. This one here, one is kind of fully open and the other one is just starting to open here. So it symbolizes that there may be a partnership or relationship or something starting to open up and develop. And there may be some positive things starting to happen and open up with this card. And then this one here, this is called the sake cup, I guess. And the sake cup, again with these chrysanthemums, says that there's going to be some success. There's going to be some positive things that happen here. This is, probably around September or so. There's going to be some positive things that happen for NiziU. And it may imply that there's, maybe some of these travel plans and these things that are happening, later in the year, about 9 months from now, it's going to start to happen. Yeah, so, the sake cup represents prosperity, abundance. So it seems like there's going to be some success or some good things, and, maybe they're maybe touring or creating a new comeback or something. It seems like it's going to be pretty successful around here with this chrysanthemum showing up, which is kind of in the fall, probably. This chrysanthemum and sake cup represents September on the calendar. And then the next one is the maple leaf, and this is kind of a minor card. It's not a major card in the suit. And so this maple leaf here represents some increasing possibilities of calm and love and support. So it seems like maybe there's going to be maybe something coming out here that may be involved with some perhaps travel, maybe some new things of success in July, August, and then September, October. And that's going to maybe increase their popularity or the love for them, or the way people see them, perceive them around that time. And then this one here is called Ame, or rain card, or actually it represents the willow tree. And this little person on here is based on an ancient poem. This represents an old Japanese story about a gentleman, and the story is called Ono no Michikaze. And the idea is that he was walking along in the rain, that's why his umbrella, and he sees this little frog down here. And this frog is trying to jump up. They're under a willow tree, and the frog is trying to jump up and get onto the willow tree and grab onto the willow tree. And he keeps trying, and so Michikaze says, "Oh, stupid frog, you're never going to be able to get there. It's futile." But then, just then, a wind blows the leaves down, and the frog jumps on and catches onto the tree, and so he realizes that maybe he has not been determined enough. He hasn't been using enough determination and grit, and fighting and ganbatte to accomplish his goal. So this was a little lesson for him in nature that said you have to have a little more determination and perseverance. And so that's what it seems to say here for NiziU, that they're going to have to kind of continue to try hard, work on their craft, and keep trying the best they can to continue to be successful. And this is around November. And so then the last card here is it's called the Polonia. I mean, that's the plant. This is one of the small minor cards of the plant, of that suit. But it represents leadership, practical leadership, doing the right things, maybe making things happen. So it seems like there's going to be this perseverance and effort that's going to be around November that they're going to be doing. And then it seemed like there may be some, perhaps some benefit, or maybe some rewards, or maybe through that perseverance they're going to realize maybe that they may have some leadership capabilities in what they're doing, perhaps in the J-pop world, perhaps, I don't know, maybe in the K-pop world, maybe globally. But it represents kind of leadership, practical leadership in what they're able to do. So that's the reading. It's kind of unique. This is the first time I've ever done it. So, if you want to write some comments and give me some ideas, give me some feedback, or maybe you played Hwatu or Hana Fuda, make some notes down there and let me know. Check out NiziU. The show was great. NiziU project, the Rainbow project. And select, these girls. They're really talented. They're cute, and I wish them the best. We'll see what happens as we move forward and see if any of this makes sense. And I'm kind of creating a new oracle. So if you have any ideas, want to give me some input, please do. And until next time, I'm going to wish you all good fortunes.
I'm your K-rap psychic. Try me twice, you'll like it. My name is Wanugee. OGs call me Wanugee. I'm a wise fortune teller and a really mellow fella. Ask me about your favorite idol. See their future, see what's vital.